There we go. And we are back. Hello, everybody on the internet. I am your host, Kevin Hopp. Welcome to Hop on Calls. Today, I have with me the one and only Jordan Crawford. How we doing, Jordan?
Thanks. I'm jazzed up after that intro. I'm like, oh man, that's a high bar for me to reach for that quality intro. That was great.
Look, I love the intro. It gets it off on a good start. If every team that was making cold calls could start their cold calling session with a hype video where like it talks about you and has your brand on it, it's like, you know, Jill, SDR at S company, like plays before, like maybe the dialing company should do that. They should have that, like as soon as you hit go, it plays a hype video all about you.
It should, it was funny. I was walking at Gold Gate Park the other day here in San Francisco, and there was a yoga thing happening, and there was a huge gong. And in my mind, I just thought of a closed one deal. And I'm like, and I wanted to come by and just say, and just smash that gong,
DocuSign sign.
yeah. Exactly. There'd be one sales rep in that yoga session. He'd be like, woo.
Yeah, you might get it. You might understand it. For sure. So, Jordan, you run a company called Blueprint. We're going to be actually calling your data today. Talk a little bit about what Blueprint does.
Yeah. So thanks so much for having me. And so Blueprint came out of this conundrum I had about 2 years ago when, fire up something like an Apollo. You got a list of names. Everyone has access to the same data. And so people are running the same playbooks, the same messages, and they're trying to write their way out of this problem. But I think that the big problem in outbound is that you actually need better data about problems that people have. And so I asked myself, how can I help people determine when to reach out, which companies to reach out to, and what to say? And so we started scraping open jobs because a posted job on a company's website is literally a job to be done. It outlines all of their problems. We're going to pay someone $100,000 to like $400,000 to solve this problem. And so in the last 2 years, we have built a bunch of web scrapers that programmatically go out to almost 300,000 company websites every single day, save it in a searchable database, and allow you to sort your market by pain, by recent pain.
Oh, by pain.
By pain, yeah, pain, not persona. That's my jam.
I love that. I really, really like that because we talk about something on this show week after week. Those tuning in are not going to be surprised, but we talk about really two things, right? It's business problems, right? We can also call this pain, P-A-I-N-E. And then we also like to talk about valuable solutions to those.
Yeah.
Solutions. I just want to write this up here. You can kind of see it. Oh, I need to get better markers. But business problems and valuable solutions. This is really important because that's what we're going to be talking about today on the phone. That's all that I advocate people should talk about on cold calls are business problems, business challenges, painful moments, and the valuable solutions to those. If you find yourself talking about other things like, oh, I've got a dashboard, I've got widgets, I've got an API, no one cares. How does that relate to something going on in my business and what you can do to do better with it?
Yeah, and
we're trying to contextualize.
I totally agree with both of these things. And the interesting thing about the way in which we pull the data is you have the opportunity to find additional keywords in jobs. So you can keep layering on a bunch of different keywords. So you basically can continuously sort your market by more and more and more pain. And the interesting thing about the valuable solution is that, and we might see this on the calls today, is that companies will say, well, what do you do? Well, what don't I do is usually what they say, right? And so it's like, no, the job description will actually give you an anchor as to what to talk about in the valuable solution. So, so you can use the job descriptions in both ways to help clarify both of those points.
Interesting. Yeah, Mark Mack brings up a good question here. About what you're doing, not necessarily solving. I don't know. It's a good question, right? Like this is a really good question as to like how is this going to play into how we have good conversations. We're about to. I'm gonna hit go on my handy dandy platform over here. What I'm gonna be using today is a platform called ConnectAndSell. Not a dialer. It's actually a weapon, a live conversation weapon. All I'm going to have to do on my other screen here, which I can't show y'all because of compliance reasons, but I'm going to press go and I'm simply going to wait for real live people to be in my ear that I can have conversations with. if your team is still listening to the phone ring every day, if you're punching 10 digits into your cell phone to cold call, give Connect and Sell a call, reach out to Connect and Sell. You have to see what it's like to have effortless conversations. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Really excited. Thank you for sponsoring the show, Connect and Sell. Last thing to note is that we're not going to be calling for Blueprint. We're not going to be calling for Hopp Consulting Group. We're going to be calling for one of your clients, which is a business called Syncari, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And shout out to Evan Dunn, the man with the plan at Syncari. We're going to have conversations with folks about Syncari. So Syncari does something really cool, which is first-party data regularization, first-party data reconciliation, deduping. Everybody has go-to-market systems. Syncari is going to make those data records unified.
Yeah. And the important piece about this, just to kind of give some context to who we're calling here, it's really hard to get outcomes, go-to-market outcomes, the type of thing that we're doing right now if you don't have great systems that are talking to each other. And so you're spending more time in the systems and not enough time actually doing the things to generate revenue.
That's right. Hey, shout out to Franklin, my guy. Business problems, business challenges.
That's like a Jay-Z quote almost, right? I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman.
I'm a businessman. All right, cool. I am firing up the dialer on my side. As always, I'm a cold calling pros pro. I have a script. I got my script up on the side. I'm ready to have a conversation about a very specific thing at a very specific time. I'm absolutely prepared here. This is actually interesting, Jordan, because the thing that a lot of folks ask me is, hey, Kevin, I don't believe in cold calling. I believe in warm calling. And I always kind of just roll my eyes and I'm like, look, if you have a giant list of people that said, call me, that's a warm call, okay? That's a warm call.
Yeah.
If you have anything else, it's not really a warm call.
Yeah.
But there's always this constant quest I find, I'm still working on this day to day, right? As a consultant, is how can we put people in better positions to have conversations, right?
Yeah.
And give them more background information. So the best part about this is using Blueprint data. I'm going to get to say, hey, I know that you had posted this job that talks about some things like this. And the hypothesis is it's going to lead to better conversations.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's right. Mark Mack, good to see you, man. Good to see you. That's the quote of the day right there. Blah, blah, blah.
I think you should start the cold call.
Hey,
with
this is Kevin.
Blah,
Hey,
blah, blah.
this is Kevin with Syncari. Is this oh, your name's Kevin too. How are we doing? Fantastic. Look, Kevin, I know I'm reaching out a bit out of the blue here. Did I catch you at the moment to have a cool conversation? Oh, shoot. Not a good time to chat. I'll reach out another time. Bye. Oh, Kev. Yeah, good question. I was reaching out. I saw you were involved in enterprise business systems, and that's why I wanted to call you. Oh, okay. So in your role, when it comes to like supply chain optimization, is what you're mentioning here. You probably touch a number of different systems inside of your company, right? Different software systems. Is that safe to assume, Kev? Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't hear you there. I guess the reason I was reaching out, I work with a business called Syncari. We actually saw that you guys had a job posting at Carlisle Interconnect that was talking a lot about some of the systems. Right. So, well, Kev, I guess my point is the job posting led me to believe that you guys have a lot of these interconnected systems that us at Syncari, we help people unify their data across these systems. So when it comes to customer data automation, that's our big focus, and we find more and more that organizations like yours are focusing on ways to unify their customer data across systems. Does that ring a bell with you? Okay. How do you spell that first name? Jasminder, right? Okay. Awesome. Do you mind, last. Oh, okay, he's the data guy. That's awesome. Kevin, do you mind? Would it be too assumptive to say when I call Jasminder, hey, I talked to Kevin, he pointed me in your direction, or would you rather? Yep. That's that's exactly, Kevin. I would never do that. Yeah, no, that would be backhanded. That's no way to do business. That's not at all what I'm going to do. I'm simply going to drop your name so Jasminder doesn't hang up in the first 5 seconds. And then if he says, well, did Kevin say, anything? I'm going to say, no, absolutely not. Kevin does not recommend. How about, I could start the call. I will start the call with, hey, I had a conversation with Kevin. He does not recommend that you use our company, but he did say that you were the right person to talk to about this. Boom. Okay, now I have my script written for when I'm going to call Jasminder. I'm going to go make that call. Kevin, do you happen to have his direct number? Okay, cool. No worries. I got systems to look that up in. But hey, thank you so much. I really do appreciate your time. I'll let you get back to that important meeting you're in. Cheers. Oh man, you gotta love that, huh?
That seemed to work pretty well.
Yeah. Okay, so that was really interesting. Why was that really interesting? Because Kevin, his name's Kevin, and I sometimes I wish I had a less popular name. I wish I had a name that like no one ever said back on the other end of the line, because it's
got to be better, right? It has to be better, right? Like, hey, you're a Kevin, I'm a Kevin. We're basically the same person. Doesn't that help?
I don't know if it did. I mean, I did. I shortened it to Kev. I dropped a little Kev in there because I know when people Kev me, I kind of go, why Kevin me?
I think you should do a cold call show of only Kevins. I can pull a list of only Kevins, and you should see if your cold call rate is better with, hey, one Kev to another.
One Kev to another. What do you say? Right? Oh, man, that would be good. But no, so I had a conversation with Kevin. It's awesome, right? Like a lot of the most classic things that happen in cold calls just happen on that call, right? Number one starts out with, I'm busy. I'm in a meeting. I can't talk right now. And then immediately, before I could say another word edgewise, I tried to say, oh, sorry, not a good time for a chat. And he goes, oh, no. Why are you asking? What is this all about? And it's a miracle that like he went from this really important meeting to a 6-minute cold call, right? Like,
do you think that, I noticed you're smiling the whole time around? Like, do you think that actually improves the demeanor of the cold call? Like, I have seen like psychological research that like just being happy and maintaining that presence of mind really helps.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You get to the point where I'm at, where I've made like a freaking million cold calls, that like my heart rate, if you could see my heart rate on my watch, is 70 beats per minute. Like I'm not nervous. I'm not like too excited. I'm genuinely happy to be on the phone with somebody, because the whole goal is to have conversations. And then when you get to that point, I was very strategic in that call at every single point to say, okay, Kevin, you can't talk. All right, I won't talk. Oh, you want to talk? Here's what we do. Here's why I'm calling. Yeah. And then he did the very, very classic, super classic, which is the immediately, not me. Are you calling about something with IT? You got to call IT. And then I go, hold on. I'm going to lean on what I do know. Now, this is a concept that everybody out there needs to remember, right? In cold calling, we get this weird thing where it's like the person on the end of the line has this accusatory tone because they don't know you, and they start telling you how it is, right? But he's telling me how it is. you need to talk to IT. I'm not IT. Da, 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 da. And it's like, dude, calm down. I'm going to lean on what I do know. I do know that you're the director of enterprise business systems. And I dropped that. And then he goes, well, let me explain to you what that is. And he did. And then I said, cool. I guess you're not the right person for me to talk to.
Yeah.
Then I told him what Sincari does. And he said, here's exactly who he needs to talk to. He's the one who handles customer data. You need to talk to him.
That's great. Well, you allowed them to establish their what they do, who they are. You gave them space to say, like, I'm an expert in this, but you should chat with that. It makes a lot of sense.
Yep. I'm gonna go on LinkedIn here and pass that name to my boy Evan for his team.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a warm lead. I'll go hunt that guy.
Evan will get him.
That's right. We got referred to him by Kevin. It's really important. That last piece was actually really important. Mark Mack, love all the comments here, by the way. I am trying to have fun. The last piece of that call was actually really important too. And this is Kevin on the other end. You guys can't hear for compliance reasons, right? You guys can't hear the other end. If you want to hear the other end, go to my podcast and I edit out all the personal identifiable information. You could hear both sides. But what Kevin said at the end was, yeah, do not tell Jasminder that I sent you. And then he told me a story. He said, the last vendor I talked to told Jasminder that I was recommending the solution and we'll never do business with them. Like, he told me this sob story. And that's where I said, look, of course, I would never do that.
Well,
and he was cool with it.
Well, but I mean, isn't it like, look, eventually that's going to get back with you and you're going to be upset at me. So why would I do that? Right. It's like,
dude,
it just doesn't make any sense. Like,
SDRs do it all the time. Why they do it, I don't know. Because they're nervous, I think. I don't know. Right? Like, if you don't have a lot of conversations on the day-to-day as an SDR or as an outbound full cycle AE, if you're not having a lot of conversations and you have a conversation, you treat it like it's forbidden fruit. You put it on a pedestal, right? What's that from 40-Year-Old Virgin, what do they call put the something on a pedestal? You can't put it on a pedestal. You can't do that, right? You can't start to say, like, I need to make the most out of this conversation. You have to have the confidence in your process and your structure to get you a lot of conversations so that now I can go to Jasminder. The conversation is not going to be, hey, Kevin told me that you want to buy my stuff. It's going to be, hey, I spoke to Kevin and he told me to talk to you. And that's all it is. And then Jasminder is going to say, well, why? Boom. Then I get to tell him a story about Sincari. And we get to get into this conversation. That's what I want.
It's like so important because I think that most of, like, when I think about the sales calls that I have, I'm trying to disqualify people. I'm giving them reasons for us to not work together. And it's like, look, it's our job to collaborate on all the reasons we shouldn't work together. And if we can't find any good reason, then I make it really inexpensive for you to test. And that mindset of abundance changes everything about a sales call.
Mindset of abundance, man, that is something people do not talk enough about, like, seriously. And the reason is a lot of companies don't have the right tools in place. They don't have the right workflow in place.
Yeah.
And SDRs are kind of out there struggling, right? And I feel for you. The most important thing to keep in mind is I was an SDR. I have sat in that seat. I have been. Oh, hey, this is Kevin with Sincari. Joshua, how you doing? Yeah, I'm with a company called Sincari. I don't know if you ever heard of us before. Okay. Well, Josh, I know I'm getting you out of the blue here. Do you have a second I can explain why I'm calling, or are you heads down on something else? Can't talk. All right. Catch you another time, Josh. Bye. All right. He was busy. We'll call him back later. Bye-bye.
Pass that one off to Evan too.
So I handle that in a very different way from a lot of the gurus out there that say, if someone says they're busy, push them on it and then try to tell them your value prop and hope they say, yeah, it's the greatest thing ever. Of course I want to stop what I'm doing. I just say, cool, you're busy? I am too. My process, I will call you again. I will. ConnectAndSell has it built in where all I have to do is click he was busy, and it prompts me. It asks me, when do you want to call him back again? 2 clicks. He's already scheduled for a call back, and guess what? I'm calling new people now.
Amazing.
It's that easy. It's that easy. No pressure.
Is that your book link there, right here on the
My book link?
Yeah. Can people
schedule? This is like my my link tree.
Oh, we see. Okay. I didn't know.
Professional version of a link tree.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, man. Go to it. Go to this website. Everybody go to this website. solo.to/hop. You can find all my links. You can find links to my podcast, my shows, my online course, testimonials about me, a link to try ConnectAndSell for free. I got it all right there.
Wow. There's a lot here. This is neat.
Yeah. Yep. Sometimes I put my Calendly on there. Sometimes I wish I didn't.
Do people just book you cold?
I've had a few people book me cold, and then like it shows up in my email. I'm like, wait, what? And I'll email the person, hey, what do you want to talk about? And they, it'll be either someone who's trying to break into tech sales or something like that. And it's like, hey, like,
that's
I totally get it.
That's a bold move.
It is. But I also get founders that reach out and say, hey, like I saw your show. I saw this, I saw that. Like, I'm interested in building outbound. Yeah. Can you help me? I'm like, that's what I'm here for,
My lead magnet there is I tried to embed a lot of my thinking in like Jordan GPT. So I created there's like 50 GPT calls that'll give you like go-to-market strategy, and that will write 3 cold emails for you and like find like perfect prospects using my jobs data. So I'm trying to like automate a lot of that like early stage advice for folks that are super early.
It's a really good angle. I like that.
Yeah.
But part of being a LinkedIn influencer is you get all the eyeballs, the good, the bad, the ugly. Lots of people reach out to me, and I'm happy to like help if there's like a specific way I can help, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. Like if you're like, hey Kevin, I'm like trying to like do cold calling, I'm like completely lost, and I really need help in this one specific area, I'm absolutely going to help you, but I'm not a career coach.
Yeah, I had someone cold email me the other day, and now he's doing intern work for me because the cold email was so good. It was like, hey, Jordan, here's like the stuff that I'm working on. Here's how I'm thinking about it. I consumed like X and Y pieces of your content. And I'm like, ooh, you have set yourself apart. And so
imagine if we all prospected that way.
Yeah, it would change
like
things.
Like what if we could talk to people and say, hey, I read a job posting that your company had that talked about. Boom.
Yeah. Well,
that's coming up. The dialer's running, by the way. I'm just waiting for another live conversation to pop up in my ear here.
Yeah, I think that the other thing that I'm because you talked to your point about SDRs not sort of knowing like what to say, and they panic and stuff. And so I'm trying to make it easier to basically have the search auto populate and sort the market by these are the jobs that are perfect, because we often think in sales, it's like either you send mass bad emails or you like write one-to-one emails. And usually those one-to-one emails are like, hey, Kevin, like you wear a shirt, I wear a shirt. Oh my God, we're the same person. Do you want to buy? Here's like a fucking.
Hey, this is Kevin.
Yeah.
With, Synchrony. Matt, how are you? Yeah. My name's Kevin. I'm with a company called Synchrony. I know I caught you out of the blue here. Do you have a second and I can explain exactly why I'm calling? Okay. Not a good time to chat. All right, Matt. I'll call back at a different time. Cheers. Could almost hear a crying baby. Matt was busy. There's something going on there.
That's either a great sign that they want to get out of that responsibility, or a really terrible sign that you will never compete with taking care of a crying baby.
Can you imagine that? It's like, am I busy? No. I can talk. You're like, honey, I gotta take this really important call. Really, honey, I'm sorry. Johnny's crying. Can you handle that? I think there's a dirty diaper there, but honey, I gotta take this work call.
I know he's got 101 fever, but this could be something good.
Well, a theme we talk about on this show
Oh,
a
God.
lot, Jordan,
So
is the human nature that comes from why people pick up phone numbers they don't know, right? People pick up the phone while they are driving at 100 miles an hour with hot coffee in one hand, with a crying baby and a dog throwing up in the seat next to them. They will pick up a cold call. People pick up cold calls at the worst possible time, and I think it comes down to like this like evolutionary trigger that we have, that is someone wants something from me. Someone is going to
Well,
ask.
this could be good. I think that's the thing. So I do this in my subject lines. Like my subject lines are, I always talk bait, but not switch. So I can't say something like your daughter's in the hospital, right? Like that's a bait and switch, right? Whatever that a message, like you're going to get hammered for that. But if you said something like, in this case, like couldn't figure out your systems, it's like, wait, what does that mean? So your subject line has earned the read of the email because you're like a little clickbaity, but it's directionally aligned with the contents of the email.
Yeah, I like that. So Dan making the point, I think they're too busy to not pick up the phone. Right? I mean, people. I've had executives pick up the phone. That guy
works in sales,
and they say like, "Hey, I'm in a board meeting. What is this about?" And I'm like, if you're in a board meeting, what could possibly be like on the other end of that phone? You know what I mean? And I get it. There are some circumstances like me, I tend to pick up the phone a decent amount. I'm picking up less and less because did you see this, Jordan? That
silence unknown callers.
Yeah. So
I
start to get really good. Your phone will tell you exactly what's calling. So here's like an example, if everyone can see. This said the other day, it said survey. It told me it was a survey before I picked up the phone. So I didn't pick up the phone. I just took a screenshot and said, I'm going to show that to somebody later.
It's funny. I'm an advisor to a company called Life's Genie, and they have an AI screener. And they say like, hey, what is this about? So if it's really good at detecting sales reps too, and being like, oh, I just wanted to see like if Jordan was thinking about solar. And then it's like, it just like, but I don't like, you can't, there's like 6 people that can call me. I always call people back. So I have like the aggressive, no way that you're getting through. Like even like, except it, like, even if you're in my contacts, I'm always on do not disturb.
Well, there you go. There's always going to be a reason to pick up the phone. I'm a dad, right? Like,
yeah, you have
if the fire department's calling because my daughter's daycare was on fire, I want to know.
Yeah,
I want to pick up that call.
Yeah,
but there are some things. What's interesting is I live in San Diego and I have a California phone, or I have a Los Angeles phone number because I'm from Los Angeles. So I know 90% of the time it's a Los Angeles number calling. They're just trying to use local presence.
Yeah.
Pick it up. But if it's San Diego number calling, I know it's like a business in San Diego, and I pick up most of those numbers.
That would be a really good idea for ConnectAndSell to do, is look at the area code of the phone number and the location of the lead, and actually provide an outbound number that is the location of the lead, not the location of the phone number.
Ooh, wow. That is a product idea if I've ever heard one, especially in this post-COVID world where like nobody is near the headquarters anymore.
Yeah. I mean, my phone number is from San Jose, so I'm here in San Francisco, so I know. And sometimes I've seen them do the first 3 digits and the next 3 digits.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
And I'm like, is it my long lost Verizon brother that got the same phone number as me almost?
Yeah. I let me see if I could show this.
Have you ever flipped if you get cold calls, have you ever like flipped the call and be like, hey, Larry, good to like pretending that you know the person on the other line and just like dive in deep to it?
I don't think I have.
I think I would do something like that.
By the way, the phone is ringing in my ear over here. I'm not hearing it ring because ConnectAndSell does not ring, which is beautiful. I don't have to listen to it ring. I'm just waiting for someone to pick up. When someone picks up, I will be talking. Where's my blocked calls list? Block contacts. Yeah. This is always a fun thing to show people. So Apple makes this so easy, right? Look at all this. This is how many numbers I've blocked from calling my phone. So I like to joke, like, if I find out that it's a telemarketer, if I actually, you get me to pick up, I immediately, 2 clicks is all it takes in an Apple phone to block a number. I mean, look at this. This is thousands of phone numbers that have called me over the years. I've had the same phone number for a long time. I block all of them. So the crazy part, Jordan, I don't get like less calls. I still get so there are so many freaking phone numbers out there that even if you block 2,000 of them, I still get calls all the time. But
I'm kind of curious how thanks, Dan. I'm kind of curious, like, how many cold calls do you think it's reasonable to ask an SDR to do in a day?
Great question. That's a fantastic question. I think a number of dials is only really important in the first 3 months of a job, right? And that's because you have to get them doing this. You got to train this nature. I call it calling culture, actually. You have to train the SDR that the phone makes them money. So you have to put around the silly KPI around phone calls, right? But the idea of holding someone to a KPI that is purely activity centric is just old. It's just old, right? It's not that's so 2015 and before. Like, it's just worthless, right? Because you find 80% of the time, if you hold them to an activity metric, they'll hit the activity metric and then put the fact that they didn't get any. Oh, hey, this is Kevin with Syncery. Jeff, how you doing? Hello. Ooh, he hung up really quickly. And what we do here is we double tap. I'm about to call him right back. I'm going to tell him that I'm sorry that our call disconnected. And then he's immediately going to say back, that's all right. What is this about? And we're going to get into it. We're going to get right into it. Hold on 1 second as I set this up. Ready? Let's double tap him. Redial. You always lead with the phone trouble thing. Even though he probably hung up on purpose, you lead with the phone trouble. Hey, this is Kevin. Jeff, sorry about that. My phone's been having issues today. How you doing? Jeff. Hello? Okay. We had a wrong number situation there. I heard some Spanish mumblings. Which is not this guy.
How do you think about because like I'm looking through job descriptions right now, and I was looking at some people say like you'll be required to make like over 100 cold calls a day. What's the metric? Like if you were to hire a bunch of people to do cold calls for you, how would you think about like metricizing them?
Exactly. So it's really simple. So I don't think about the metrics of activity. I think about the metrics of outcomes. So instead of make 100 calls today, I say by the end of the day, I would like for you to tell me 6 people that you talked to and something about their business that you learned, and whether or not that resulted in a meeting. And then we'll look at how we can improve the conversations you have with the 6 people.
Yeah.
And see if we can't get a higher conversion rate next time. Right? Because if you hold them to the who did you talk to today? Who did you interact with today? Who did we get responses from today? Which, by the way, you can do on more than the phone, right? You can get people do respond to the occasional cold email. People do respond on LinkedIn. So it's totally acceptable to say, yeah, I had a back and forth with Jordan on LinkedIn. He told me that Blueprint uses X, Y, and Z, and he's really happy with it, and therefore he doesn't even want to talk about what we do. That's like ding, 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 ding. Yeah. If you can get an SDR to do that 10 times a day, you're gonna win. That's it. Right?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I have found about cold email specifically, because we send hundreds of thousands of cold emails a month, is that the market matters and the targeting matters. And so there are emails that I still send today that have like no more personalization than first name, and they get replies because I have chatted with someone that knows the person that I'm the like types of people that I'm sending to, and they have a unique insight. And so I think that like one thing that people should do before they ever cold call is like have a conversation with a customer and understand like how would you frame my service with your understanding. And I think too many outbound efforts don't start by anchoring on a customer's problems and doing an outbound play based on 3, 4, 5 customers that were all in the same situation.
Yeah. I mean, you're at that point, you're just figuring out, okay, what was going on in your business, and what do we do for you?
Yeah.
There's problems, valuable solutions, right? And then asking them to frame it in their words. Then you can use those same words to go talk to other people like them. That's how you do this, right? I wrote a word up here. I don't know if it's kind of hard to see, I guess.
Competitors.
It's completions.
Oh, completions. Yeah.
It is hard to read.
I should go to
I gotta get better mark. All my dark markers are running out of juice over here. I will fix that for next week's show. Completions, right? Completions is the concept of, something goes one way and it comes back the other way. And it's like a completion is I'm not interested. Getting someone to reply at all is a bit of a completion. So if your reps are able to get a lot of quick conversations, I would just push that metric up a little higher in terms of what you're looking for, right? Because you say like, okay, how many phone calls should a rep make in a day? I say how many conversations should they be having in a day? So if they could be having 6, but they get to 6 before lunch and they all were not interested, make it 12.
Yeah.
Right? There needs to be consistent effort across the day, and the focus should not be on activity. The focus should be on outcomes in terms of, are we being productive? But a funny thing happens, Jordan. When you focus on the outcomes, you tend to realize that there needs to be a level of productivity. And that's where the magic happens, is when you realize that if you can unblock how to make people productive, how to let people have more live conversations with cold calling, how to enable more, personalized emails, then you start to you have to focus on that productivity piece.
Yeah. Well,
in order to get the outcomes.
I think that one of the things that I kind of believe in sort of a bifurcation here of how you should think about this problem, which is like, if you're super early, like maybe you're the first sales rep, maybe you don't have sales reps, like you should do things as manual as possible, because seeing that person's profile, writing a one-to-one message, like you start to learn things about the market, reading the job descriptions, you start to empathize with who the customer is, and you shouldn't scale anything. And you should do that for as long as you can. But once once you've had enough sales calls and you kind of know, okay, this is the talk track, this is like what they respond to, that's when you can scale things. But then you need tools. You need tools like ConnectAndSell to be able to do exactly what we're doing here, right? So that you're not spending time on activities, right? You're spending time on the call, or in my case, like sending campaigns. Like at the end of the day, I need rapid shots on goal to be able to test my messaging, test my offer, test all that stuff, so that if it fails, I can try again next week. So the cost of any individual failure is pretty low, and you can do them often.
That is it. That is it right there. And it's just interesting that most people that I work with understand that it's a problem and don't know how to solve it in a modern way. Like, what's the old school version of how to do things like what ConnectAndSell and these email platforms do? It's called work harder. It's called get to the office by 7 a.m. It's called, hey, the boss has the corner office. It's clear, and he's in there before you every day, and he needs to see your butt in the seat. It's called grinding. It's called, boiler room. Like that is how a lot of, white-haired sales leaders, like how they think that like sales productivity is like,
yeah,
we just need to work harder. Back in my day, we didn't get to leave the office until we scheduled 3 meetings every day. It's like,
yeah. That's like, well, does that mean that you shouldn't put your cheeseburger on a modern grill because you can make a campfire? Like, no, you should use the grill. Like, we built all these really interesting tools, but I think that the silly thing is that we're using all these interesting tools like GPT-4 to do the same silly thing we did manually, which is like, what message can I send Kevin that's not about a business problem, but that's about like, his fancy glasses, or like the shirts that he wears, or like the university they went to. People think it's a personalization problem, and I think it's an understanding problem. If you understand your customers really well and you understand the things that they have to do. And I'm specifically also, I think the other interesting piece here is to think about your offer. So making sure that your offer is like super compelling enough to get on a call. Like, what thing do you have? What thing do you know? What are you an expert in that your prospect like cares about? And, you know, in my case, it's like, hey, I can send you not only job descriptions that talk about the problems that you solve programmatically, but I can go find leads for you programmatically. So if I send a sales leader an email that says, hey, Kevin, like, here are the 3 companies that do the most amount of cold calling. I pulled the lead. I pulled the person you should contact. I wrote a message for you. Are 3 leads enough for you? Like, that's a pretty compelling message.
Yeah, it definitely is. And part of what we're trying to test here, by the way, the dialer is running. We're about 60 dials in, had 4 conversations. I think part of what is interesting about what Blueprint does is providing context to the conversation. A lot of SDR, like so many SDRs, right? I coached a live competition, cold calling competition a few weeks back, and I heard like half the SDRs on there, their pitch is literally like, hi, I'm with XYZ Corp. We have a platform. Are you open to trying it? And that's their whole pitch. And I'm like, this is a take that like I will die on this hill. Like if that's all the SDR work is, if that's all that sales development and outbound is just finding enough people to pitch your cold pitch your stuff. Like, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this? Yeah, like ChatGPT, Jordan GPT, whatever you want to call it, it's going to replace all of the people. It should. It should. Yeah. I think sales development in general, hot take will be about 10 to 20 to 30% of what it is today in the future, because these email and the automation tools are going to go nuts, right? And I've already had a few different founders. Hey,
that would have been amazing if that was a cold call.
It's my dog. Murray.
I'm thinking. Do you mind if I share my screen? I want to show you a poll that I did. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, go ahead. Check it out. We're waiting on the dialer to connect here. We're up to 65 dials.
All right, let's see, share screen. So what I did is easiest with 2 monitors. Okay, I do have 2 monitors. Thank you. Entire screen. Here we go. So what I did is I just looked at the last 90 days of my data. Can you see my screen? Great. I just looked at the last 90 days of my data, and I pulled, I just looked at all of the job descriptions that mention cold calling. So this sorts the company by the mentions of cold calling in their jobs. So this company has mentioned in the last 90 days, 292 times they have said the word cold calling. And Whoa. That's across 175 jobs. Now, look at this second one. This kind of cracks me up. It's like a 911 like call center. So wow. It's like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that these folks are like doing, or like you have to have experience in cold calling because you're going to be getting a lot of calls. So if you think about like if you're a Kevin or someone at ConnectAndSell, it's like, all right, well, who are the people that you should sell to? You should sell to the people that are actively hiring right now that talk the most about cold calling in their recent jobs across the most number of jobs, because it means that they are really ramping up for a lot of people to do a lot of silly things if you don't have great systems. So
doesn't seem like it would be too much of a stretch. Like it seems like that logic would kind of flow, right? Like, hey, you are actively looking for people that do this and this and this. I sell something that makes this easier. Do you want to have a conversation about it?
Well, and also the nice thing is that exclusions are an interesting way here, because you can say, don't mention ConnectAndSell, don't mention other competitors of theirs who didn't pay to have their name dropped. So like we could be like, okay, great. I noticed that you're not using any of these dialer technologies, and based on the number of reps, you're probably wasting X amount of time doing this every day, right? So by understanding this density, it's not just a targeting thing, but you have some messaging that you can append to, because you have in the way in which you have crafted the search, the message comes for free.
Ooh. Gotta love that.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is exactly what we're doing here, right? It's like, okay, well, and like you could imagine if this was Evan's team, one of the things that they totally could do with this data is to just focus on certain types of systems. Like one great point that you made before we went live is just like, Synchrony's, like they support a bunch of different systems. So the people that are integrating a tool like Salesforce with, with Marketo or whatever, they have different problems than the people that are integrating like QuickBooks and other types of tools, right? And so by understanding their tool stack, it actually helps you with the message too, because you know which customers to reference, you understand their problems a little bit more. And so it's kind of this weird thing I found. I don't know what you think, but like the more complex the product, the harder it is to sell because you have a really hard time narrowing down on like the most specific problem to the most specific audience.
100%. 100%. And that's why probably half of the clients I've worked with, I'd probably say half, like you could bucket the clients that I've worked with into, probably 3 buckets really easily. Number one are complex things, people that sell complex things, or enterprise solutions where it's like, oh, well, it does such and such for this and such for this, such.
Yeah.
And then it's like, we do all 5 things. Those types of people struggle with outbound. The next are people that sell Me Too solutions, competitive solutions, right? Telecom brokers, accounting software, payroll software, background screening software. Everybody has it. Everybody's already doing it today. You're calling. Why are you better, different? Da, 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 da. A lot of people like that reach out to me for outbound help. And the last one is emerging technologies or brand new companies, really small companies that are like, I don't exactly know how to take this message to a lot of people, or if it'll work on the phone or if it won't. So those are the 3 kind of buckets of people. But yeah, I completely agree with you. And that's why, I would absolutely, if I was Evan at Syncery, I would make sure that the SDRs have a singular focus. Just boiling the ocean doesn't work.
Well, yeah. And I think the other thing too is that might not just be it's like a systems focus is one way to do this, but you really need to narrow down to different industries. And just like the thing that I've learned is that I had a donut for a client the other day. They paid me a lot of money and we didn't get a single lead for them, even though it was like we invested the most amount of time, effort, and resources on data. Like we did amazingly good data work. But the problem is that their value prop, it was just like useful to so many different people that, we were doing exactly that. We were trying to boil the ocean, and I didn't force the client, which I should have, is to like pick the narrowest possible thing. And the best way I have found to do this, Kevin, is like, give me like the 15, 20, 40 customers that are all the most similar and tell me their story. And then let's go build a targeting list off of their story.
That's beautiful. Mwah. That is perfect, right? That really is perfect. The other angle that I really like to talk about when it comes to like how to build your outbound messaging is your SDRs are not. You shouldn't think of your SDRs or your outbound reps, if you have full cycle AEs, whatever. You shouldn't think of them as simply making activities to try and find the people that are looking to buy what you're selling. Yeah. You should think of them. You should kind of weaponize them as storytellers. Do they understand how your customers are getting value today from what you have? And if they are, go put them into conversations with dozens of companies just like the people that you help. And that's what resonates with people, real people, right? Yeah. No, I don't. Nobody likes to get sold. Everybody loves to buy, right? Yeah. You love when you walk onto the car lot, you know what kind of car you want. You know what color you want it. You don't like when the sales rep pushes you on the creepy financing or upsells you on the, the Charger, the twice the size of the engine, the bigger wheels. Give me what I want the way I want it, because I have a problem. I need a new car, right? Everyone loves to buy. No one likes to get sold. Storytelling helps build that into people that they can see their problems in your customers. So,
well, and especially the competitive stuff is really interesting, because I was chatting with a friend of mine that it does one of these chatbots, and I'm like, look, man, there's like 400 companies in the chatbot space. And so you really have to be able to understand why you're different. And if your value prop is if you're the Costco chicken of like chatbots, that's okay, but lean into that. Just be like, look, all these other guys like Qualify, Drift, they're going to charge you $60,000 a year. We're like $8 a year. It's like, it's so cheap. It gives you all the other stuff. Like, but you're right that no one really spends time understanding how they're different from their competitors.
Yeah. And it's particularly difficult when you're talking to founders and executives. because it's you like to get good outbound messaging, you have to simplify and start here, and it whittles down to here. It's kind of like distilling, right? Distilling things. How do you make whiskey? You put all this stuff in this thing, you boil it all, and it's like, it's this big thing, and it all just drips out into this pure substance. That's what outbound messaging should be. Is like all the jargon that marketing says you do, that's just needs to be thrown into the kettle to distill all the way into like the real sauce of what you do.
This is it's a Mark Twain quote, which is, "I'm sorry I wrote you such a long letter. I didn't have time for a short one."
I didn't have time for a short one. Love that.
It's like, because it's like easy to just like puke your thoughts, but it's like really hard to then distill them into something much smaller. It's actually hard to write something small.
Yeah.
It's like unrelated, but I heard another good quote that I like, which is, "If parenting is easy, you're not doing it right." It's like, wow, that took me a while to sort of grok.
That's a good one. The other one that is really relevant. So I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and something that every parent goes through in the first year or two is like this questioning of, am I, especially your first kid, right? Am I a good parent? And the line that I heard early on that someone told me that's really stuck with me is like, bad parents don't wonder if they're good parents.
Yeah.
It's that easy, right? Like if you're like, it relates exactly to what you're talking about, which is like, oh, this is easy, man. This is great. Like I live my life. I don't have to do anything. Like, grandma does all the parenting. Like, yeah, you're probably a bad parent. Like, it should be difficult. Oh man. Well, we're still running over here, hoping to get a connect here. Let's hope. This is a live calling show. The data is cooking. We got chefs in the kitchen.
Have you found that certain like cold calls resonate with certain types of titles, or is there any like niche that you're like, because like I used to sell to a lot of these like local service pros, the folks that did like solar installs, and they are phone people. Oh my gosh, they are phone like all day long, right? And so I'm kind of curious, like if you could be forced to work in like to sell to one specific niche, what's that niche if all you could do is cold call them?
Yeah, like so your question has two sides to it. Like what types of people do you want to cold call that pick up the phone a lot? You're right. Like service industry people or people that are dependent on their phone to do their job and aren't looking at a laptop are going to pick up their phone more often, right? And people that get their business through the phone. So there's like the blue collar version, and the white collar version of that is HR. So HR people tend to pick up the phone a lot because they don't know who's calling them, right? And their job is to take inbound requests, right? Their job is to handle inbound flow of things. So HR people would be my like kind of white collar answer, and service industry for sure picks up the phone a lot on the blue collar side.
In terms of the strategy, do you ever go low in order to get referrals for higher, or the other way around?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. A lot of, the most common and most like frustrating thing that I deal with is when founders say like, Kevin, it's not that hard. I think we should call C-level executives at Fortune 5 that have the problems we have. And we got to tell them that we have the great solution. And they'll take of course they'll look at it. Of course. Just do me a favor. Just take a look at it. Like I hear that all the time.
I disqualify those customers. Like right. you don't know your ass.
I'm not working with you. This is not going to work. So Jordan, my favorite was the security leader at a cybersecurity company who said, at the end of the day, we're helping people stay secure, and that's what the message should be. And I'm like, no one's ever thought of that. You want to call like an IT pro and say, hey, we are cybersecurity. I know you never heard of us, but we are cyber. All those 1,200 other cybersecurity companies, it's all marketing. We are.
It's funny. I joke with my friend Eric all the time about never taking on cybersecurity clients because he did some amazing work. He looked at their open ports, so he found like actual vulnerabilities, public vulnerabilities, and then matched that with like when other companies had that vulnerability, what problem did that incur to them? Like, oh, when Uber left this port open, like you would think that this
Whoa.
message would convert really well, right? Like, hey, Kevin, I like took a look at your site. I'm an expert. You have port 86 open. And like when Uber had port 86 open, they lost like $100 million lawsuit.
Yeah.
Like, do you want me to show you how to close it? Just like crickets. And this is just kind of just goes to show you that you need a good theory about like why you're different. And
Yep.
cybersecurity is, and also like it's hard too because you're selling before the outcome, before they've had the problem. So it's like, hey, Kevin, on the off chance your home could burn down, why don't I give you a fire extinguisher? And you're like,
yep.
I'm like,
So
I
this
don't need
is,
that.
you bring up a good point, Jordan. Cybersecurity have been some of my best clients because the emails on cybersecurity are just like, yeah, oh, you do endpoint protection. So does the last 17 people who sent me a cold email.
Yeah.
Right. And then cyber salespeople love to list out all the things they can do. Like they like send an email with like 17 bullet points on, we can help you do this. What works really well in cyber is when you have consultative sales conversations in a cold manner. So you cold call and you talk about the ways that people are solving problems that you work with. And then you get into, well, no, we use this for that. We use this for that. And then you get into that verbal judo of like, okay, totally. I understand. Because at the end of the day, trying to articulate what you do better or different is difficult in a cold email, but I find it's easier to do the cold call.
Well, I mean, I totally get that. And I believe this hypothesis, which is this is why I'm such a stickler for targeting. Like really great targeting doesn't need to have an opinion about why they're a good customer for you. It's the other way around, which is why are they like the other people in this list? And why is that the narrowest possible lane? And once you have defined the narrowest possible lane, then your message is self-evident. So your message becomes really, really clear if you're like, okay, well, they use these 6 type of systems, which means that they have this problem for this title. And so the targeting becomes the messaging because you've had such a deep opinion about who should receive it. Why them? Why them? Why now?
Why them? Why now? That's that's a man. If only sales and marketing could focus on that instead of what they really do focus on, which is we have the greatest, we are this, look at what we built, this, me, instead of them. You have to understand.
Show up, throw up is what I call that.
Show up and throw up. Damn. Well, the dialer's still running. We're over 100 dials. Only the 4 live conversations. It's about time to wrap it up. Jordan, how can people learn from you, connect with you, reach out to you?
Yeah. So I'm just Jordan at blueprintgtm.com. Feel free to send me an email. LinkedIn/in/Jordan Crawford is my LinkedIn. And you can get some free go-to-market ideas with Jordan GPT, which is just right my LinkedIn profile. Or you can go to intent.blueprintgtm.com and you can start searching my jobs data immediately. So it's free to search, pay to export, sort of how it works.
I love that. Well, thanks for offering that for the audience. And thank you for joining us today. Last shout out to our sponsor, ConnectAndSell, your live conversation weapon. I didn't have to punch any numbers in today to have 4 live conversations. It happened for me. That was really fun. And everybody tune in 2 weeks. We'll be going live and having more live cold calls.